gentleman there in the hooded top.
Your fashion descriptions are... You didn't know you'd have to do that.
I hope to get into the film and broadcasting industry, and from what I've heard lately, the industry's growing in Scotland, but the only problem is that there's not a lot of film studios in Scotland at the moment. I'm wondering if we go independent, that maybe this industry will expand within Scotland.
Now, nobody can guarantee that, because that's a decision that will be made by the independent government, the first one we've ever had. But what I can tell you, and by the way, I'm the sort of Philistine in our family. Somebody up in Inverness asked me about David Bowie's intervention, and I shocked the audience by telling them I'd never heard of him. What was even more shocking to them, it was true. What I've discovered, and one of my granddaughters is operating in the collective at the present time, I have been really amazed at the flowering of creativity in our artistic community at the present time. There's a lassie called Zara, and she has an alter ego called Lady Alba. If you've never seen Lady Alba, you go on YouTube tonight and just put in Lady Alba. And the kind of inventiveness that you see in that is happening all over the place. So while I wouldn't, be so stupid as to guarantee you something, film and broadcasting actually employs more people than we do in shipbuilding. And the creative industries are extremely important to us. And it's the point I was making. Once you're independent, you can think of things you couldn't do when you weren't independent. So I'm quite convinced we'll see a further flowering of artistic talent in Scotland, which should be reflected in the film and broadcasting sector. But a guarantee, if I gave you a guarantee, I would be lying.
From the gentleman down here and at the front. I'd just like to point out, what's Channel 1 and 2? That's the BBC. See, when we won't be a part of Britain, we're going to need an SBC, a Scottish Broadcasting Company. That's going to create employment. Also, I don't know if many people in here have heard of the little television show called Game of Thrones, but that was actually supposed, they wanted to film that in Scotland because of our scenery, things of that nature, but we couldn't because I didn't have the film studios to accommodate it. For an independent Scottish government to not look into a Scottish film industry, TV industry, it's ridiculous. The amount, as Jim said, the amount of employment goes beyond that which we see, the presenters and the cameramen. You remember, people need to build studios, we need sound engineers, we need people doing hair and makeup. That's an employment which I've mentioned to people that, and they laugh at it, but it is a real employment opportunity for a course which a lot of people see as being less than that of a teacher or whatever. It's a real employment opportunity that can have real, it's a job, pay taxes, benefit society. Gentleman at the front.
It's really for Jim, but maybe I even do. I think that Sterling will really suffer if they don't go for a currency union. Me personally, I don't want to have a currency union. I want Jim's idea of the peg Scottish pound. But if, let's suppose Alex Salmon gets his way and we get this currency union, and no, let's go with Jim's, and let's say that they decide they're vetoing the currency union. So it's complicated, right? Let's suppose we don't get the currency union, and we're pegged to sterling. Yeah, I believe that the sterling will seriously suffer over time. They're going to suffer because of that. We'd be pegged to them. Okay. Now, when we get to a point, I don't know how many years down the line, where financially we'd see to say, well, maybe it's better off if we depeg, if that's the term. Now, our currency is going to be still at that point a lot stronger than the sterling. We would then still have these, our export industry would still, I know you've spoke before about having a separate currency is a bad idea for our net balance of payments is relying on export. So, what steps can a new Scottish government take to ensure that that hurdle doesn't have a major effect on our export industries at that point? We'd have time to Is it just a case of branching it out to other markets and forgetting about UK? Yeah?
I mean, the complicated areas in it, it's for the future, but the point is you'd have options, and there's a number of options you can decide on what makes sense a few years down the road in that particular scenario. The scenario being that it would make sense for us to be pegged to sterling because it would be devalued, which is quite a problem. I mean, sterling has been devaluing over the last 30 or 40 years. If you look at what it was worth the equivalent of €5 if you go back to the 1960s. 11 Deutschmarks at that point. It's been devaluing for decades, and that'll continue because it's the balance of payments issues and other issues. It'll probably get a bit of a shock if Scotland was out of it because of the balance of payment issues at that point in time. But you're right, if we were pegged, it could be, we could look at it at some point in the future and say it doesn't make sense. But just on the broader currency issue, I mean, I kind of look at, if you look at Scandinavian countries and other European countries like Scotland, some of the countries we had on that rich list earlier on, there's a whole range of currency options there, and every one of those countries does better than Scotland. If you look at Finland and Austria, both in the euro, they're doing fine. They're in a currency union with the Eurozone, with the euro. If you look at Denmark, it's got its own currency, but it's pegged to the euro. It's another one of the options. They're doing fine. Sweden's got its own currency that floats freely, and they're inside the EU, and they're doing fine. And Norway and Switzerland have got their own currencies, and they're outside the euro, outside the European Union, and they're doing fine. So if you look at the answers that are in the Fiscal Commission, every one of them is happening in the real world, right in front of our noses, and every one of them is in a country that's more successful than we are. So the reality is, whichever currency solution there was in Scotland would do just fine because the fundamentals of the economy are strong, and that's all that matters. At the end of the day, it's just what's on the bit of paper. The choice then is which one's the best just now, and then potentially that could be a different solution in a number of years' time, because, as Philippa said, countries change their currency arrangements all the time, and it's no big drama.
Question over here.
Yeah, can I explain about a currency union that folk haven't picked up yet? You cannot have a currency union unless the other side agree. You need a treaty between two countries. We'd be Scotland and they would be our UK. Now, if they don't want to do that, that's very foolish on their part, and Alex Salmon's dead right on that. But if they've now boxed themselves in, because they're going to say it's a manifesto pledge. We vote for independence this September. Next May, down in England and Wales and Northern Ireland, they're all going to run in a manifesto, they'll refuse us a currency union. That's stupid, but that's their entitlement to be stupid. Therefore, well, it is their entitlement to be stupid. It's not a rational decision that they're making. So we would have to fall back on having our own currency. And it would be sensible to peg it to sterling in a transition period. Because as Philippa said, we're going to become independent, we've got to rebuild our economy. But the decision to peg it and the decision to unpeg it is a sovereign decision of ours. We don't have to ask the Bank of England or anybody else to do that. And it's a crucial thing that folk have got to understand. When we vote for independence, we actually mean independence.